Trying to have it back at 55 at this point, unless he loses to JDM, seems difficult.
Said that's way different. He said he used to pull close to 20 pounds on fight week, and he said practices are harder because he's going with bigger guys.
Islam Makhachev is moving up to fight Jack Della Maddalena, one of the best strikers in the UFC. Fans are excited to see if Islam's wrestling can stop Jack's powerful punches, and this fight could change both their careers. In a recent interview, Islam Makhachev talked about his next opponent, Jack Della Maddalena. He said he has watched all of Jack's fights and respects his striking and boxing, but Islam also noticed that Jack's wrestling is not very strong, and that could be the key area where he plans to take advantage in their upcoming fight. Islam said, "Yeah, I watch all his fights. He's good. His striking is good, his boxing is very good, his wrestling not so good. But he's good on the ground, he knows how to defend, how to escape, how to get up." Further, he also said, he has good skills there, but his wrestling is just not good. Still, his striking is really good. That's why he's one of the best in the world and a world champion right now. After Islam Makhachev shared his thoughts on Jack Della Maddalena's fight style, Jack gave a respectful response. He didn't take Islam's comments personally and instead praised his move to welterweight. Jack said he expects Islam to perform even better at this weight, looking stronger and more confident. He added that the extra size could actually help Islam inside the octagon.
It's hard to tell. Sometimes the weight cut will slow you down. So I expect the best Islam. I expect more filled out, stronger. I feel like it's going to be the best Islam Makhachev there's been. So yeah, I think the weight would probably be better for him, you know.
Ahead of their upcoming fights, several UFC stars recently gathered in New York City, turning heads with their rare public appearances together. Fans were thrilled to spot Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev enjoying a relaxed weekend while still keeping their training routines sharp. The footage quickly went viral, showing their strong bond and mutual respect outside the cage.
Второй вопрос. Как проходит подготовка? Асар называется, да, брат? Сам. Ты чё такой серьезный? Кушай давай.
Moving on, Islam Makhachev, moving from lightweight 155 to welterweight 170, has raised questions about how hard it is to change divisions. Luke Thomas explained that gaining weight for a higher division and then trying to drop back down is very difficult. He compared it to Holloway's experience and said that staying in one weight class usually works better for a fighter's career.
Given the way in which, as you mentioned, if you're going to go to, you know, Islam, for example, had to give up the 55 belt to go to 70, and trying to have it back at 55 at this point, unless he loses to JDM, seems difficult, right? Because you're bulking up, and now all of a sudden you're just going to drop back down to 55, but if he wins, go back up to, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Holloway tried to do that previously between 45 and 55, and I just don't think it served him his interests. And now he's talking about, you know, and is here apparently at 55 permanently. And I think I think that's smart. I think he's just gotten older. It just makes more sense.
Luke also talked about Islam's size at welterweight. He said Islam isn't a big 170-pound fighter, but he still could perform well. The most important and meaningful fights for him are still at lightweight. If cutting weight becomes too hard now, moving up is okay, but staying at 155 usually makes more sense for his career and keeps fights more balanced.
Dude, Ilya is not exactly like, I mean, I realize that the weight cut is tough, I understand, but it's not like he's a huge featherweight. He's definitely not a big lightweight, and he is a minuscule welterweight. I know what you're going to say, well, Islam is not a natural 70-pounder. Let's see how that looks. I mean, he may not be a big 170-pounder, but he might be just fine for the size, for the weight class. You know, you say not natural. He didn't, yeah. What's natural? A guy who couldn't make 55? I suppose that's one way to look at it. It's one way to define it, is a natural 70-pounder is a guy who like couldn't fight at 55, and Islam could. But again, I think that's a fine sort of like loose rubric as a way to measure it, but to me, the best kind of fight with the most meaningful result would be at 55.
Finally, Luke looked at the bigger picture of fighting Islam at 170. He said it's better to fight at 170 than not at all, but some opponents like Ilia Topuria could be too strong at that weight. Staying in one division usually gives more meaningful fights and avoids mismatches. Islam's move up will test his skills, but it could be tricky against bigger fighters.
Now again, if Islam's weight cut at this point is so bad that is not really on the table, fine. You know, again, you have to go where you have to go. And if it had to be at 70 for the reasons that you list, including some of the ones that I've sort of mentioned here as well, then fine. I mean, better to have it than not have it, right? Certainly better to have it than not have it. But I don't know. I felt like it's more meaningful to have these campaigns where both have done decorated work versus, now granted, if Islam beats JDM, that's pretty good, but then Ilya would still have, I mean, Ilya at 70 is, I don't know, seems kind of silly to me. He's so outgunned at that point. I don't know. I don't love the idea.
Meanwhile, UFC stars Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo shared their views on how the fight might play out. They discussed where JDM could challenge Islam and whether his striking or grappling could pose any real threat. Both agreed that Islam's skills make him a tough matchup for almost anyone in the division.
I want you to really elaborate on why JDM is going to give Islam Makhachev, because you say tough fight, so I'm gonna kind of push your buttons a little bit. How? Where is JDM? Where does he fit? Where does he give, or better yet, where does he give Islam a fit? Striking, grappling, submissions, takedown defense, takedowns. I don't see a Kush. I see total dominance from my brother Islam Makhachev.
Listen, I hear exactly what you're saying, and obviously, I want Islam to win.
Kamaru added that while Islam is clearly skilled, every fighter still needs confidence and courage to execute in the cage. He noted that Islam has shown his spirit is strong and unbroken in past fights. Even when tested, he adapts and improves, making him a dangerous opponent. This mental strength could be as important as his technical skills against JDM.
But it's not going to be that easy, because the one thing, and I think it's one of the, if not the most important thing that we need in this game, in this sport, and it is the belief in himself and the courage to just go out there and execute. This dude, I've watched him in a couple of fights. Spirit was never broken. It was bendy, but it was never broken. And you saw in his last fight when he came out and he looked that much improved, he picked your boy up. You know, he picked him up.
They also discussed potential future matchups in the division. Cejudo mentioned that while he likes other fighters like Ilya, moving up weight classes too early can hurt divisions. He believes Dana White will manage these decisions carefully. Overall, he emphasized the importance of letting fighters develop and compete at the right weight, preserving the competitiveness and balance of each division.
And hey,
wow, that was my boy, huh?
oh my bad, that's not your boy? I'm sorry, that's not your boy? Anywho, all I'm saying is, for me, it wouldn't make no difference, because I like Ilya, and if he wants to come up, then that would be once in a lifetime type situation, and hopefully Dana doesn't do that. Well, not yet.
I personally don't think so. You know, like when people say too much, they're gonna retire young. Like, take them for their word. McGregor did it. A lot of these guys that said they're gonna do it, Khabib even did it. I mean, that hurts. That hurts from what I know. You know, speaking to Ali, that hurts that division.
On the other side, Islam Makhachev prepares for his upcoming fight against Jack Della Maddalena, and he revealed how challenging this training camp has been. Moving up to welterweight means adjusting his body, working with new sparring partners, and adapting to heavier weights. Despite the tough preparation and minor fatigue from travel, Islam feels confident and ready to perform when the fight night arrives. Islam said, "This camp is really hard. You know, I gained weight, I became bigger, and my sparring partners changed. Some of them are very big too. That's why it's a very hard camp." Further, he added, "We did lifting and weight training differently. Everything changed. It's been tough, but now I feel good. Still a little jet lag, but in a couple of days, I will be ready." Furthermore, as Islam Makhachev prepares for his first welterweight fight, Chael Sonnen explained how different this camp is for him. Islam plans to walk around at 192 pounds and cut to 182 pounds for fight week, which is much more than his previous routine. Adjusting to heavier sparring partners has also made training harder than before.
Islam Makhachev is putting on some weight. He said that his goal, he wants to be walking around at 192 pounds. He wants to get out to Fight Week, get on location in this place, Madison Square Garden, New York City, at 182 pounds, and then he will pull that extra 10 pounds, exactly 12 pounds, on Fight Week. But he said that's way different. He said he used to pull close to 20 pounds on Fight Week, and he said practices are harder because he's going with bigger guys.
Sonnen highlighted how tricky it is to add weight while keeping up with daily training. Eating enough calories while burning so much energy in twice daily workouts is not easy. He noted that Islam was already big for 155, so gaining additional size while maintaining performance adds another level of difficulty to his camp.
That's interesting to me. I appreciated this when Volkanovski did it. Volkanovski even did this as piece of social media and had the nutritionalist, and they were feeding him food, and he was having to scarf it down, and it was hard to do. Very few people can relate to this because very few people have ever tried to gain weight. I get it, as human beings, we look at the scale and go, I've gained weight. That was fun. That was easy. Gaining weight is not trying to gain weight.
Finally, Sonnen pointed out that working with larger sparring partners is another challenge Islam faces. The combination of heavier workouts, nutrition adjustments, and new training routines makes this camp very different. Sonnen expressed interest in seeing the details of Islam's preparation, noting that moving from 155 to 170 requires more than just gaining pounds, it changes the entire fight approach.
When you are forced to train 2 times a day, you're just naturally burning all these calories. Not to mention you've got a metabolic rate. You've got to eat a surplus of calories on top of all that. It's a very difficult thing to do. And Islam was so big for 155, I did not know that he was going to have to try to gain weight. I thought he was going to weigh what he had been weighing and just have to lose a little bit less weight. But he revealed to us that no, he's actually trying to put size on. And it was interesting when he said practices are harder because I'm going with bigger guys. That was interesting to me. I'd be curious if he could be more specific. I would love to see the guys that he's working out with. And I know that team pretty well, but it would seem as though Islam would keep working out with the same guys. We're only talking about 155 to 170. It sounds like he's doing a lot of things different. That is compelling to me.
With UFC 322 coming soon, Islam Makhachev has been hard at work training in New York City. The biggest moment for fans was when Khabib Nurmagomedov joined him, reuniting with his former teammate and mentor. Their time together shows the strong bond between them and gives Islam a boost of experience and guidance, making this camp one of the most closely watched and talked about ahead of his big fight. Meanwhile, Islam Makhachev shared details about how his training camp has changed while preparing for UFC 322. Moving up to welterweight has forced him to adjust his diet, workouts, and overall approach. Gaining weight while training intensely twice a day has been one of the biggest challenges, requiring careful planning with his coaches to make sure he adds size without losing performance. Islam said, "Yeah, like a lot of things we change, many things, we sit with the coaches and make the plan. It's very difficult to gain weight." Further, he also said, "I've finally become a little bigger now because the last couple of months were hard. I use creatine and protein after every training and I try to eat more, but it's very hard when training twice a day and hard." Adding on is the hype for Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena builds. Reporters have been asking fighters for their predictions. One of the voices fans were curious about was Sean Brady, who has trained and competed at a high level in the UFC. His perspective adds insight into how other fighters view the matchup and who they think is the edge in this highly anticipated fight.
Hey, I'm not going to keep you that much longer. I'm going to get your prediction on Islam versus JDM real quick. Who do you think wins?
JDM.
With UFC 322 approaching, the fight between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena is creating huge excitement. Islam brings strong wrestling experience and smart game planning, while Jack has powerful striking and quick hands. Both fighters have trained hard, adjusted their routines, and are ready to test each other's skills inside the cage. This fight could change the direction of their careers depending on who performs better under pressure. Fans can expect a fast-paced, intense battle that highlights strategy, strength, and heart. So who do you think will come out on top? Islam Makhachev with his wrestling and experience, or Jack Della Maddalena with his striking and aggression? Share your predictions in the comments below.